A lot of women would be so much more successful if they invest more in themselves. Honestly, you want to be high value, you want to be spoiled, you want to show that that is your standard, invest in you first. A lot of us don't want to do that. A lot of us want to skip all of that and just get the perks of being a spoiled woman. And you don't get those perks until you're willing to invest in yourself. Invest in yourself first. That could be my basic advice. Because when I walk or go in somewhere, I don't have to tell them how or what I require. Most people can tell when I open, not even, before I even open my mouth, that I require a lot. It's how I carry myself. It's my energy speaking before I even say a word. When you walk around or you go somewhere, do you go looking at the ground, hunched over? Or do you look people in their eyes? Do you go somewhere in your best clothing? Or do you look like a bum? Everything that you do speaks for you before you say a word. If you want to be taken as a spoiled woman, a spoiled pedestal wife, you want to be taken as a woman who has high standards and high expectations, do it all and don't say a word. Because you want them to know before they even speak to you. This is another way to actually eliminate people who waste time. People are not going to waste their time when you're walking up to me. I am together. I am walking with my eyes on your eyes. And, I'm not looking at the ground. I'm not walking hunched over. I'm walking with confidence. I'm walking like I own that place and every centimeter, every square of that building. When I come in like that, they already know it's high expectations, high standards. And that when they ask me questions, it need to be in alignment. It need to be on that alignment. Invest in yourself. Stop being scared of investing in yourself. That if it goes for your looks, if it goes for your etiquette, if it goes to your communication, invest in yourself. A lot of us lose very good opportunities because we don't want to invest in ourselves. Let me tell you, there's no amount of money that will stop me from investing in myself. Even if I need to chill and relax, I'm going to invest into a vacation because a vacation is calling me. And it helps me to go on vacations randomly or when I need to re-energize. I always invest in myself. That's how I show up every single day. Thank you. Such good information. Yes, because all of the other stuff that people talk about, honestly, I can tell you this from experience. This is what I know from experience. This is the reason why I tell you all to learn how to set that standard expectation before you open your mouth. Because most people that scream from the mountaintop that they are high value, that they are spoiled, they aren't. Because these are things that you can determine by their energy before they even say a word. You can already determine before they even walk into the building that this woman requires a lot. You can determine by even when she doesn't even open her own door. He gets out, opens her door. This woman is determined. She requires a lot. Her expectations are high. This woman is walking in the building like she owns the building. Like she's the owner. She requires a lot. That's setting the expectation and the standards. Learn how to set that expectation and standard without saying the word. Some of us talk too much. Some of us talk too much. And I can always tell the ones who are just faking the funk. Because you don't have to tell anyone when you have it. When you have high standards, your energy is going to speak before you even say a word. But you have to actually invest in yourself and figure out what those standards are. Like, figure out what standards are going to get you what you require. And don't just write them out. Don't just say them. Be it. Be the standard you're trying to create for yourself. This is how I know a lot of people say that they have high standards, high expectations, and that they operate as a princess. And I can tell when you're not telling the truth. There's a certain energy that a woman likes that give off, that you just know that she's one of those women who don't even know the word no. You just know. You're literally my favorite person on the internet gives advice, wondering what books would you recommend. Okay, I have a lot of books. Like, what topic? If one of the things that I do and I love to do is I read. I know that's somewhat old-fashioned. I do read, and I don't just read books either. When I read a book, I'm not just reading it for entertainment. I literally read a book so I can apply it. I'm one of those women. I feel that's how I come off, is I do invest in myself, but feel when people talk to me, I don't come off as high value, high standards, sort of very humble and accepting of anyone. Okay, so that means you just need to work on your communication. You need to work on your communication. You need to work on possibly saying no. Let me explain to you. And I'm going to give you all a little bit of a manipulation tactic that you need to be aware of. When you get in a situation, or maybe you have an argument with a person, right? You have an argument with this person. And instead of that person stops talking, that person stops talking and they allow you to talk, and you're just constantly explaining. Do you realize that you've lost the argument? You've already lost whatever expectation or standard or however they view you as. Why? Because you're explaining yourself. People who absolutely understand where they're coming from and are sure of themselves and not insecure do not explain themselves. This is the reason why I have to think real hard to really give you all some information that's going to be helpful, because I've walked through my life and I never explain. I don't sit here and explain myself. Only people I explain myself to is children. That's who I explain myself to. I explain myself to my teenage daughters because they're young and they're growing. I don't explain myself to other people. And that is the kicker. People who are very secure with themselves, they don't do as much explaining or trying to get person to get on their side or need someone to agree with them. They already agree with themselves, and that's enough. So when you're having these conversations, maybe in the beginning you presented yourself as high value, high standards, and high expectations with you. But then when they have a conversation with you and you sound insecure, you give a lot of explanations, and you possibly just talk too much. These things work against you presenting yourself as high value, high expectations, high standards. When you don't walk around trying to explain yourself, it's more like you give the energy of you need to either get on my level or get behind me. And that is high standards. That is confidence. That is no insecurity. All right, so the books thing, if you hit me in a DM, I'll give you a list of books. How do you respond or test guys who about, y'all, this light's getting on my nerves. How do you respond or test guys who, when they try to move to you, first speak about paying all your bills for a year? I get that a lot. I just struggle to navigate after. I want to work on it. How do you respond or test guys who, when they try to move to you, first speak about paying? Okay, I don't get that question. Babe, just clarify, and I'll answer that. I really don't get that question. I don't know if you want to test or you want to know how to say something to a guy about paying all your bills. I saw your vetting video, and I was wondering what were your tests or questions you did to test him. All right. Let's see, let me think of one, because I'm big on test, vetting, questioning, observing. I'm big on all of those. And honestly, when you're observing, that is a test. Sometimes we have to pay attention to what's going on around us so we don't miss it. One of the things that I always try to do is testing to see if that person is generous. That's like one of my first tests, is testing to see if that person is generous. And honestly, with him, I didn't have to do that, because my very first date, we went out to eat and then we went shopping. So I already kind of knew he was generous, because he was that type of person. He allowed me to go to store. He didn't ask me how much. He didn't give me a price of saying, oh, you can only spend this amount. So I kind of knew he was generous. I was paying attention there. But for every woman, the very first test that you need to deal with or do is testing for generosity. This means before that third date, you need to be finding out if this person is willing to be generous with you. And if just because a person has resources, if they're not willing to share their resources, then it doesn't matter. They just have resources. So as far as questions, I've done the videos for that. If you saw the video, I gave questions that you can ask for generosity in the videos. I think it's on my first date video on YouTube, and you can get that questionnaire. Like what specific questions? I asked a lot of questions. And I put them in videos already. But one of the questions I would ask, or have asked him, is I asked him about, it was generosity. I asked him about how does he feel about his mother and how much work does she do. I asked him about the memory of his mother. I think I put that one on TikTok. It's actual questions. That's the reason some of y'all need to follow me on TikTok if you want specific questions that I asked. Because I actually get straight to the point. But I asked him about his mother because I wanted to find out what if his mother was a woman who worked. And honestly, when I had that conversation with him, his mother did work. But he did not care for it. He felt like that women shouldn't because his dad taught him this. See, that was the thing. When I gave him that test, it led into me finding out that his mother still worked. He just didn't care for it. He thought she should have more options. His father is the one that put into him that women shouldn't. Women shouldn't. And that is what he wanted. What are standards you recommend or some examples? I did a video on YouTube about this also. I did an entire hour stream. I know those videos are long, y'all, but believe me, trust me when I say you will get a lot of information from those videos. You could even listen to them while you're in the car, listening while you're doing anything else. But if you go back to the YouTube channel, a lot of these questions, trust me, I've answered them. My standards, I have so many. And that's the reason why I did a video on it, because I have too many. One of my standards is lifestyle. You have to actually have a standard of lifestyle. What is that going to look like? What type of neighborhood do you want to live in? What type of car do you want to drive? You have to have all of these standards. And I put my standards on YouTube so that you all have a starting place. But you need to figure out your own standards and what standards that you want for your lifestyle. So I've never, for me and myself, I've always wanted to live in a great neighborhood. I always wanted to live in a neighborhood that was more family oriented and that had great schools. I've never wanted to send my kids to schools that had negative experiences or they had a negative rating. So we've always lived in great neighborhoods. We've always had the kids always had great options for education because that was one of my standards. Another standard is I always want to have a standard of living, which means I did not want to be a poor mom that couldn't participate in the things but being at home. And what I mean by that, there are some women that their only standard is to be a stay-at-home mom. And that's all they want. They want to be home with their children. They want to run the household. And that's good and all and well, if that's what your desire is. But I didn't want to be that mom. I wanted to be that mom that had options. This means I wanted to have options to be able to go out to lunch, to brunch, to shop, to do whatever I want to do and be a stay-at-home mom. Some women are choosing to be stay-at-home mothers, but living and having poverty. That is not my bag. Like, everybody can do whatever they want to do, whatever you desire. It's your world, baby. It's your world. But for me and mine, I had to have a standard of living because I did not want to be at home and cannot go out to lunch with my girlfriends. Or I did not want to be at home and can't go shopping. I didn't want to just be at home, okay? I truly wanted to be in a position where I can, y'all let me move this, because this lighting is driving me crazy. And it's throwing me out. Anytime the lighting drives me crazy, y'all know how it is. I can't take that lighting. And I know what it is. It's because I live in North Carolina, and just because it is the middle of December, it's hot. But I didn't want just to be a stay-at-home mom or a stay-at-home, wife. I didn't want that for myself. And I think you should have a standard of what that's going to look like. Some people are okay as long as they be able to stay at home with their children. That's all they want. I want to be able to go to vacation in the middle of the month. That's what I want to do. I want to be able to swipe my card and go on a shopping spree. That's what I wanted for me. And that's what it looked like for me. And that's one of my standards. Okay, when a guy first approached me, they talked about wanting to pay my bills. For my part, I don't know how to navigate after actually test if they were serious or just to impress me. Okay, honestly, let me explain to you. One of the things that's going to help you all in relationships is treat every man like an adult. If an adult says something, we hold them to it, right? We don't treat them like children when we think, oh, they just playing around. Treat him like an adult. And as soon as he says that he's going to pay all your bills, you be like, oh, that's wonderful. I have one right here for you. I have one right here for you. You're just what, that's great. That's exactly what I'm looking for. Here's the bill right here. Okay? And that's it. We're going to treat me like an adult. And if you're going to treat me like an adult, you got to realize that when he says something, he means what he says. So if he offers to pay a bill, give him a bill to pay. Give him a bill to pay. Or give him an amount to pay. And say thank you. Make sure to always say thank you. I tested that guy's generosity. He said he forgot about getting me the gift. Then I had to remind him. This upset me. He did, but didn't make it up to me. I haven't spoken to him since. And you shouldn't. And you shouldn't. That is a test. Not only did he not give you the gift, it's actually deeper than that. He didn't follow through. And see, the thing is, when you're dealing with men, not only should you treat them like adults, you should treat them as though that their word is the gospel. This means men should not be giving their word unless they're actually going to follow through. So he failed following through. And so that means he should be blocked, deleted, and you should move around. Can you save this live? I don't know. Y'all, this live looking kind of janky. So ask him, what do you think? Pedal has asked him, what do you think are the most important things a woman needs from you in a relationship, marriage? See what he says and tells him your needs. Be prepared to answer the same question as well. Absolutely. That's a great question. If you want to, you might want to screenshot her answer. I love that. Should we ask for things or allow them to offer? All right. I'm very big on like covert things, which covert things means that I like to suggest. I don't ever ask for anything, which means when I send something his way, I normally just send a picture.